So my name is Mark Wall, and I'm the Chief Operations Officer here at Sandy Shore Farms. My farm was founded by my grandpa back in the 1950s. I am third generation. We kind of grew and grew over the years and dabbled in some tender fruit, some peaches, some nectarines, and some cherries. But one that always came back as kind of the breadwinner was our asparagus. We are the largest handler, packer of asparagus in Canada. Our product is sold mainly through retail. So we're packing for all the major retailers here in Canada, and then we sell primarily into the northeast of the United States. Asparagus is highly perishable. So when we harvest it, we try to get it into our facilities hydro-cooled as fast as possible, packaged up and sent out to the grocery store in under 2 to 3 days. If we're not innovating, making things more efficient, investing into robotics, packaging, and that sort of thing, it's very difficult to survive. And a lot of retailers are pushing us in the produce industry to further enhance our food safety procedures and a lot of the technology that's available. So we've decided to invest into a metal detector. Plant Automation was recommended to us through a partner in our industry as being one of the top suppliers for these metal detectors. There are many different ways that a metal could get into a product, nuts and bolts off the manufacturing line. We use some blades within the process. We've got a very, very good maintenance and pre-maintenance program, but to ensure that there's zero risk of any sort of metal getting into the product, this is a critical control point that we can rely on. We've placed our metal detector at the very end of our packaging line so that we can cover any of the processes prior to that package heading onto a skid, eliminating any risk of metal getting into our asparagus in that process. So one of the things that we really love about this metal detector is the HMI and the graph that is shown. It's very easy to read. If there's an issue, it shows very, very clearly on the graph that there is an issue, and there's clear indication that there's metal within the product. I know this metal detector is versatile in how we can use it. Right now we are using it to pass our asparagus cases through. We want to try different packages. We want to try different products like our pepper program, maybe our onion program as well. These are wet products that I know this metal detector can handle. The metal detector has a lot of presets so for all of our different products. So we calibrate the metal detector for a certain product, we'll save that preset, and now we have that saved. Anytime we run that product through the metal detector, we know we're getting good, accurate results. The metal detector includes an hourly check on calibration, which we incorporated into our SQF program. Our QA, our food safety consultants are very, very happy with this machine. The installation of this machine was painless. Within an hour, we had product running through. The training was excellent. It was very straightforward, and I have most of my techs trained on it, as well as my plant manager. It's a great machine. It's easy to use, and it's highly accurate.
I'm Greg Wilsey with Plant Automation. I'm an associate partner, and I'm the one who's worked with Sandy Shore and their QC team to spec out the metal detector and make sure we had the right one for their production. So we went with a TechSight metal detector, and we went with a custom aperture and a custom conveyor. The issues we had is there wasn't a lot of room. They're flexible, so they change their line around all over the year. So as they'll be able to use this and move it around on casters and put it on their various production lines for their products all through the year, not just for their asparagus season. The biggest challenge we had was actually their case and their production, because they soak their product with water as it goes out to make sure it stays hydrated. So as the product is running through the metal detector, it's dripping, it's getting water all over the place. So we needed to get a metal detector that was able to screen out the differences that we're going to get from dripping water and the inconsistencies of moisture level in the product as they run throughout the production day. Because not only are there different amounts of water on the product, but also the product itself has different moisture levels as you go out for the day based on how long it's harvested. It's going to have less moisture at the end of the day than it does at the beginning. And as we look through, they also have a unique case. They've got a plastic case that is a full plastic corrugate without any paper in it, and these bundles are stacked inside of it, and everything's soaked with water and drenched just before it goes through the metal detector. So we not only had to deal with a plastic instead of a corrugate case, we had to deal with water and the product dripping. So the machine does that using algorithms. We trained it with different levels of it, so we showed it what's acceptable for high and low levels of moisture, and anything outside of that is classified as a contaminant, and it stops the machine. To make this machine as flexible as possible, we did a custom conveyor, and we did a very simple belt stop solution. So because we know they have very few contaminants, what happens is as the case runs through the metal detector, it stops, and it just sits there and waits, and the operators will know that that case has a contaminant because it didn't go off the conveyor belt. It just sits and waits for an operator to come pull it off. It's an IP69, so it's fully washed down. They can spray it with whatever pressure and caustic chemical they want to wash it down, make sure it stays clean, make sure there's no cross-contamination or any bacterial infection for anything going forward. The TechSight metal detectors are Canada's metal detector. There are two versions of them. We've got the top of the line one with the fully graphic HMI that we've put in here at Sandy Shore. And there's also an entry-level one that's more cost-effective for the smaller producers who want the same detection, but don't need all of the gadgets and are just set for a simpler level of production. The team at Sandy Shore has been great to work with. We're collaborative back and forth. We've got samples when we need it. We were able to bring everything down to get product samples and get everything tested so we could actually test it in our factory before it came down here and have it all dialed in, so that by the time we brought it on site, we rolled it off the truck, put it into place, and it was in production within an hour.
Here we are in the asparagus grading area at Sandy Shore. This is the area where the cutting and the grading of asparagus occurs, and this is where the contamination could potentially occur and what we're trying to prevent with the metal detector.
Hi folks, I'm Shaka. I'm the plant manager here at Sandy Shore Farms. This is one of the industry-leading pieces of equipment we have here. The HMI is so fast. I'll show you if you take a quick look-see. If, for example, I want to detect the length of my acceptable band, I can go to 50 and it's already changed, right? I want to change something else, the width, I can go to 120 and it's already updated right there. It is super user-friendly, very responsive. You have an electric field, you have a conductor moving through that electric field, and a small voltage is generated. And depending on the magnitude that's generated, this is what gives us the results, whether it's a pass or a failure. It's a very, very small voltage, but that is good enough to detect whether it's a ferrous or stainless foreign material through the metal detector. Now, this represents a pass. The red mark stays within the acceptable limit boundaries, which are defined by regulation. So to demonstrate failure, we're going to plant a stainless steel object onto the finished case. The small voltage, it will go beyond the acceptable boundary and the unit automatically stops. The small EMF generated is way outside the acceptable threshold for a safe product. So this has failed. Now there's a couple of things we do after we detect a failure. The first thing we do, we just send it through once more, just to see if it's an anomaly. The second thing we do, we tear the box apart, and then we do half of the bundles. We send them through here again into a new container. And then we start to divide up until we get that rejection again. And then we take corrective action. Then the whole list of paperwork starts, right? Root cause analysis, corrective actions, everything. With this piece of equipment, we can confidently guarantee food safety to all of our customers.
With this TechSight metal detector, we know that we're doing everything we possibly can to keep our products safe. I'm comfortable to say that we have the highest level of food safety protection with this metal detector in how it interacts with our SQF food safety program. I love the idea of food science and experimenting. As a kid, I was always the one that would experiment with food on the kitchen counter, and so I feel like I'm back living my childhood some days, and that all takes investment, equipment, metal detectors, and it helps us be more than just a farm. And based on our experience with plant automation, we think that they're going to be great partners for us in the future. I would highly recommend using plant automation as a provider for services.